Uh, Good evening, everybody. We are back with our live series. We had our pregnancy live series, and now we're doing our infertility live series. And as usual, every Saturday at 4 p.m. is when we have it. I'm your host, Dr. Damodar Rao, Associate Director of Rao Hospital. And today, we're going to be talking about infertility. Infertility is something that has been on the rise. Back in the day, it was probably 1 in 16 to 17 couples that were facing the problem of infertility, and now it's almost as high as 1 in 8 couples. So, what's going wrong? Uh, let's find out what are all the causes that cause infertility. Maybe it's the pollution, maybe environmental factors, maybe stress, uh, maybe non-communicable diseases, lifestyle. So the various factors that can cause infertility. Today we have our expert, Dr. Suganya, who is an OBGYN with a keen interest in fertility and obstetrics. So on to you, Dr. Suganya.
Thank you, sir. So I'll be talking about the basics in infertility. Well, what is infertility? Not being able to become pregnant even after having 1 year of unprotected regular sexual intercourse is infertility. But if ever you're about 35 years of age and you've had intercourse for around 6 months unprotected and regular and still not able to become pregnant, then it is of concern. Well, you should know that this is fairly common and this affects about 48 million couples globally and up to 186 million individually. So there are some steps that are required to become pregnant. So for a normal pregnancy naturally to take place, the lady has to ovulate. Ovulate is basically the lady has to form eggs in either of her ovaries, and the man has to deposit sperms in the vagina, and the sperms can move in an upwards direction and fertilize the eggs in the tubes. The embryo then gets into the uterine cavity. So any difficulty or any problem with any of these steps can result in infertility. There are two types of infertility, primary and secondary. Primary infertility is when a lady has never conceived even once in her lifetime. And secondary infertility is when the lady has conceived at least once before. So even if you've had multiple miscarriages, stillbirths, you'll come under secondary infertility. Coming to the causes, well, infertility is not just a women's disease. About 1/3 of the infertility causes can be attributed to women, 1/3 to men, and 1/3 unexplained, which basically means that even after complete investigation of the couple, we're still not able to find out what the cause of infertility is. And this just desires treatment. So in overall, a lifestyle changes has to be done in either of the couple if they're obese, if they've been consuming a lot of alcohol, smoking, use of drugs, and also exposure to environmental toxins like pesticides and lead. When it comes to male infertility, semen analysis plays a huge role, and abnormal semen parameters can be seen if there are blocked ducts, the reproductive ducts of the male is blocked. And if there is something called as a varicocele, which is basically enlargement of the veins inside the testis. So all these can result in impaired semen parameters and high other medical conditions like high sugar, some genetic conditions like cystic fibrosis, and exposure to chemo and radiation, trauma, infections. All these can cause infertility in the male. Coming to female infertility, a range of abnormalities in the ovary, in the fallopian tubes, and in the uterus can cause infertility. One of the most common causes of infertility is PCOS, which is a condition where you have large cystic follicles in the ovary. So if a lady has regular predictable periods between 24 to 32 days, then she is probably ovulating. But if a lady has irregular periods, is not able to get periods without medicines, then she probably has a lot of anovulatory cycles. And PCOD is one of the leading causes of anovulatory cycles. And other conditions like endometriosis, pelvic adhesions, if you've had a history of previous surgeries, the tubes can get adherent to the structures next to it. All these can cause infertility. The other end of the spectrum to PCOS is diminished ovarian reserve, which means there are lesser number of follicles in the ovary than expected. So an increasing age is a risk factor for a diminished ovarian reserve. That is why naturally people tend to get pregnant tend to get difficulty in becoming pregnant after 40 years of age. So as age advances, infertility increases due to this. And there's something called premature ovarian failure, where the ovaries fail even less than 40 years of age and the lady goes into a menopause. And there can be various other congenital, structural, medical, surgical reasons also as to why the lady is infertile. And blocked tubes, as hydrosalpinx fluid collection in the tubes is also a factor. And sexual difficulties is another thing, not able to get an erection, penetration, not able to deposit inside the vagina. And the lady can also have a lot of pain, that is called dyspareunia. So all these also can be causes of infertility. Certain other abnormal immunological conditions and certain cervical factors can also cause infertility. And these days, endometriosis is increasing. And endometriosis is nothing but the normal uterine cavity has this endometrial tissue which has to be seen only inside the uterine cavity. But a similar tissue, when it's seen outside the uterus, in the rectum, the bladder, or the bowel, this is when you term it as endometriosis. Sometimes it can be seen in the ovary, resulting in big cysts as well. Now, coming to evaluation, during the first visit, the doctor may put you through comprehensive history taking and investigations. The history taking may include your medical history, your surgical history, your growth, your development, and history, a family history. And if you've had any infertility treatments in the past, the details of the same. And lifestyle as well, if you have any habituations. For a male, physical examination is done to look at the size of the testis and the scrotum to palpate for any big engorged veins, and also the breast if it's bigger than normal in males. And semen analysis is one of the best indicators to see how well a male is fertile. Any abnormalities in the semen parameter, be it the count or the motility or the normal forms, has to be taken into account. And also certain blood investigations. If ever a semen analysis shows nil sperms, the doctor may ask you to repeat another semen analysis. And also, if that also shows, then you will be given a lot of treatment options. The doctor will also assess whether you have an obstructive or a non-obstructive azoospermia. And genetic testing can also be done to see if you have any chromosomal genetic disorders that can also get passed on to the child. Certain blood investigations, if you're an azoospermic, will also be done. Hormones will be looked into. Ultrasound of the testis, Doppler is done to rule out any varicocele. And a testicular biopsy is done, which I'll be talking about in detail in the treatment part. Coming to the female, again, a physical and a pelvic examination is done to look at the cervix, to feel for the uterus, to see if there's any mass in the abdomen or in the pelvis. And hormone investigations will be done. Ovarian reserve testing is a test that is done to see how much of eggs you have left. So this can be done by a hormone called as AMH, the anti-Mullerian hormone. And also by the antral follicular count, which is done through an ultrasound. So an ultrasound will be performed to look at the size of the ovary, the size of your uterus, to see if there's any abnormalities of the uterus, of the ovaries, if there's any septum, if there's any cervical factor. All that can be seen in an ultrasound. And if there's any huge mass, fibroids, adenomyosis, all this can be picked up in an ultrasound. And also the antral follicular count is usually done in the start of your cycle to see how much of follicles you have recruited for that cycle. Now coming to tubal patency tests, hysterosalpingogram is a tubal patency test where a catheter is inserted into the uterine cavity and a dye is injected. So once the dye is injected, it is expected to flow through the tubes into your abdomen. An X-ray is taken from above, and with the film, we'll be able to tell you if the dye has flown into the abdomen or if there's a blockage causing obstruction and there's a dilatation of the tubes. The same can be done with the help of ultrasound machine and with the use of a saline, and that's called as the sonohysterogram. This also gives an idea about any polyps, fibroids, and all that. Now coming to a surgical investigation, which is the hysteroscopy. This is usually done under anesthesia, and hysteroscopy is a camera that is hysteroscope is a camera that is inserted into your uterine cavity via the cervix. with the light source to visualize all along the way, to see how the cervix is, how the uterus is. And if we see any abnormalities like a polyp or a fibroid that's dangling, it can a therapeutic hysteroscopy can be done, and polypectomy. All that can be done via hysteroscope itself. A hysteroscope can also see if there's any adhesions, that is, any scarring inside your uterine cavity, and to look at the ostia, which is the connection between your tubes and the uterus. Laparoscopy is another surgical management which gives an overall idea about your uterus, because we are completely visualizing what is happening inside your body. So it is best in diagnosis of endometriosis and pelvic adhesions. Now coming to the treatment part, correcting the lifestyle is very important for both the male and the female. It should not be under the impression that the female is the only person that has to undergo the treatment. It is mandatory to look at the male partner as well. And correctable causes like weight management, having a good exercise helps in treating infertile couples, especially if you have a PCOD. And obesity itself is another risk factor for being infertile with both the male and the female. The male also can have a lot of problems with erection and esteem. So they can end up with low self-esteem. All these can result in infertility. So all these needs to be corrected. Do join a gym if you have to, work out at home, do your walking, eat healthy, less carbs, more protein, a lot of healthy fiber, rich food, a lot of fruits, vegetables. Do consult your doctor before you go on any sort of diet plan. And also the doctors will sometimes give you some antioxidants to improve the quality of the eggs, the sperms, but you should bear in mind this will not completely revert back anything that's very abnormal. And the lady is usually put on folic acid and sometimes some blood thinners if you have some antibodies in your system. And also management of other conditions if you are an uncontrolled diabetic, that also can be taken into account, and controlling your sugars, your thyroid, prolactin, your vitamin D correction, all this needs to be done for an infertile couple. In males, if you've been diagnosed to have varicocele, or varicocelectomy can be performed. And if you have obstructive azoospermia, then the doctor might ask you to go ahead with something called as TISA-PISA, which is testicular sperm aspiration, where a needle is used to make multiple punctures in your testes, and aspiration is done. And aspiration is looked under a microscope for any sperms in it. And sometimes if this is not possible, a much more refined procedure called as a micro-TISA is done, where an operating surgical microscope is used to have a look at the areas of sperm production, and biopsies can be taken. So this is a rough management of the male infertility. Now coming to the female infertility. Female infertility, again, correctable causes need to be corrected. But if you've had irregular periods, you've been trying for a long time and you're not pregnant, the doctor might want to do an ovulation study. So ovulation study involves repetitive scanning during your menses, initially during your menses and then thereafter. So the doctor might look at your ovaries, the eggs on day 10, day 12, day 14 of your cycle. You might also be given some medicines to improve, to have an egg if you have PCOD or other conditions. And some injectables can also be used if required. So once the egg becomes bigger in size, we need a mature egg. So the doctor will keep monitoring until you get a mature egg. So once you get a mature egg, a trigger injection can be given to you to make sure the follicle ruptures and the egg is released out. And you might be asked to have a natural intercourse during that time. And if you have had repetitive failures with just a follicular study and naturally trying, the doctor might ask you to go ahead with an IUI. IUI is intrauterine insemination, where the male sperms are taken, specially prepared in the lab. The best sperms are taken, the most motile sperms are taken, aspirated and is inserted directly into your uterine cavity. So if you have any mild sperm abnormalities, mild egg abnormalities, cervical factors, and sexual problems where the male is not able to penetrate and ejaculate, IUI might be helpful. But you should bear in mind, IUI, everyone is under, a lot of people are under the impression that IUI has a 100% success rate. No, it doesn't. The success rate is around 12 to 15, maximum to 20%. So Now coming to artificial reproductive techniques. Artificial reproductive techniques are techniques which involve taking the egg out of the woman's body, taking the sperm out of the male's, out of the semen, fusing it separately under lab conditions, and reverting, like putting it back into your uterus. There are different types of artificial reproductive techniques, and conventional IVF is in conventional in vitro fertilization, where the egg of the lady is taken. The female is usually given a lot of injections on the start of the cycle, or sometimes on the third week of your cycle. And regular monitoring is done, regular hormonal values are done to see how many eggs you're getting. Multifollicular growth is what we are aiming for in this cycle. So once the eggs are big enough, a trigger injection is timed and given, and you'll be asked to come in for an pickup. So an oocyte pickup is done under anesthesia vaginally, and the eggs are taken, kept in a dish. And if we put the sperms for the egg, then it is a conventional IVF. And ICSI is a much more specialized form of IVF, where the eggs are taken separately, and each sperm is looked at under the microscope. The best sperms are taken that has a good motility, no abnormalities, and with the help of highly specialized machine, these two are fertilized together and kept. So the doctor will decide whether you need to go ahead with a fresh, now it has become an embryo, whether to go ahead with a fresh embryo transfer, which means the transfer is done in the same cycle itself. Or if you have excess of eggs, or the doctor feels it is better to freeze the eggs, or your uterine environment is not okay, the eggs are usually cryopreserved or frozen on day 3, day 5, depending upon the growth. And then another subsequent cycle is taken where your uterus is again prepared, the endometrium thickening is done and inserted back into the uterus. So, and some supports are usually given after an embryo transfer. After a couple of weeks, you should be able to know whether you're pregnant or not. And excess eggs are kept cryopreserved in case you need them for future use. There are certain other alternatives if ever the male has some, or male or female has some genetic condition or some other abnormality wherein they're not able to use their own gamete. Donor options are available, a donor sperm or a donor egg, or sometimes a previously preserved embryo can also be used. And if the uterus is not in a condition to bear a baby, a gestational carrier or a surrogate can also be helpful in case of an infertile couple. So there are a lot of emotional aspects to this particular treatment, because this treatment is quite unpredictable. The outcomes are quite unpredictable. So the couple, both the male and the female, go through a lot of anxiety, pressure, and guilt during this period. So do take the help of a doctor. If you have excessive symptoms, you might also be referred to your psychiatrist. So coping up skills and managing infertility, being stress-free is very important when you're undergoing this treatment. So this is all I have to say about the basics of infertility. So I would like to conclude by telling that since the uncertainty of this treatment can be quite stressful, do talk to your family members about this, ask them to give you that space, make informed decisions, and see what is acceptable to you and your partner for, physically, emotionally, as well as financially. And also correct all the correctable options that you can get corrected. And going stress-free goes a long way in actually improving the reproductive outcomes. So emotional health is as important as your physical health. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Suganya. That was a wonderful lecture. And it's a huge topic. It's a vast topic, and beautifully given us a concise version of it. We have some questions that have come in. This is, I am 25 years old, married for a year, still not able to have intercourse because I have a lot of pain during intercourse. Please advise what should be done.
Okay. So a sexual problem is actually fairly more common than people think. Coming out of it and seeking the help of a doctor is very important when it comes to sexual problems. The lady can have, you probably have something called as the vaginismus, where the vaginal muscles are tight and the male is not able to penetrate properly. That results in a lot of pain. And over time, it is seen that the male also loses interest and can result in weakened erection. So this definitely needs to be addressed by the doctor. You might be put in through a psychology consult as well, and using dilators, using lubricants can help. So, but you'll have to be coming in for regular visits until your sexual problems are corrected. Since you're just 25 years old, you do have a sufficient amount of time in correcting your sexual problems before you can plan for a baby.
Thank you, Suganya, for that answer. The next question is, I've been diagnosed with PCOS even before marriage, and my cycles used to be regular then. Now I get my cycles once in 2 to 3 months, and I've been gaining weight also these days. Should I check with a gynecologist?
Yes, definitely yes. Because if you've gained weight, that itself can increase the intensity of the PCOS, and PCOS can also again aggravate weight gain. So before you know, you might end up gaining 10 to 20 kgs, and your eggs may not be as healthy. PCOS definitely warrants treatment. A good lifestyle management is as important as giving you the medicine. But since you've been married for 2 to 3 years, it is better to go have yourself checked, and probably go for an ovulation induction or whatever your doctor thinks is best for you.
Yeah, thank you. The next question is, I have my cycles regular. I'm trying to conceive for last 3 years, but failed to conceive. I'm very much stressed out. Kindly help me, ma'am.
But stress, again, as I keep emphasizing on the emotional aspect, stress is a hindrance to becoming pregnant itself. And 3 years, if you've not been trying naturally, like you've been trying regularly and your cycles have been regular, it's definitely time to go to a doctor, because there are so many other factors, as I mentioned, that can be wrong with both you and the partner. So complete evaluation is a must, looking at your tubes, looking how your uterine cavity is, whether you're actually forming eggs, and whether the male's sperm is also okay, needs to be evaluated. So do not wait for a really long time. 3 years is a good enough period if you're feeling very anxious. Do take the help of a psychologist as well.
The next question is, I'm 37 years old, not prepared for pregnancy. I would like to postpone it a couple of years, uh, but my family is insisting on early pregnancy. Will it negatively affect my chance of conception if I delay it further? 37 years old.
37 years old is like a red zone. So it's always better to consult your doctor if you're over 35. And if you're planning to, in fact, push your pregnancy for a couple of years, you definitely have to go to your doctor and have your ovarian reserve checked. So the doctor will do an AMH, an antral follicular count. But honestly, if you ask me whether I will ask you to wait, I probably would not, because not only the number of eggs decrease as age advances, the quality of the eggs also greatly diminish, and it'll at one point lead to a position where you may not be even able to use your own eggs in the future. So plan and consult your doctor.
Yeah, I think one thing you could do is immediately go and at least meet the doctor right away and see where your ovarian reserve lies. And there's also something called as egg freezing that's available now, and people are using it. Many people who are very, very, career oriented and want to postpone their, even though they're married, they want to postpone their childbearing. They're going in for something called egg freezing now. So that's also a viable option. You could always consult us at Rao Hospital if you have any queries regarding that. The next question is, my husband has been diagnosed with no sperms, and the doctor said this cannot be corrected. Can you please advise any treatment for it?
Well, when I've seen that a lot of patients with such a report wait for years, taking a lot of alternative medicines, hoping that their sperm increases. Well, if the doctor has, yeah, that is definitely not a bad idea. But then you should bear in mind that this is not going to completely revert back to normal. Zero count will probably not go back to a count of 40, 50 million. So if the doctor has said you have no sperms, then better is to go for an IVF, or if you have a donor sperm in mind, you can even go ahead with an intrauterine insemination with a donor sperm. Or I mean, only if you feel you don't want to go through the whole process of an IVF technique.
Yeah. So I think if you already consulted your doctor, there's one thing if your doctor has advised you or not. I think the only way to say whether there is sperm or not is by actually doing a testicular biopsy. That would be the ultimate truth, so to say. So in case a doctor has not offered you that, and if his hormone levels are also on the normal side, then there's more chance that you might pick up some sperm on a testicular biopsy. So do ask your doctor regarding this testicular biopsy. The next question is, I'm anxious about getting pregnant as soon as possible. I've been married for 2 months now. Is there a necessity to see a doctor now, or should I wait and try for a year?
Okay. So you've told me that you've been married for 2 to 3 months, but I do not know what your age is. So if you're in the early reproductive age groups in the early 20s, you definitely can wait for a few months before you visit a doctor regarding conception. But if you're nearing 30s or over 30, 35, then you should immediately go visit the doctor. And again, preconceptional counseling is something that we emphasize on a lot for the married couple. So sometimes you may have some abnormalities. In case you have abnormalities with the thyroid function, the prolactin, all that can be corrected even before you plan a pregnancy. Because sometimes we have people with uncontrolled sugars becoming pregnant, and ultimately the pregnancy going in for a miscarriage or the chance of having an abnormal baby. So we have had a session on preconceptional counseling. You can find it in our Facebook page. So that will tell you about what has to be done. And yeah, please do consult a doctor if you're planning to become pregnant, because preconceptional counseling always help. Going on folic acid, having your vitamin D levels corrected, definitely helps.
Thank you, Dr. Suganya. So yeah, I think we're done for the questions for now. So I think we're going to wind up the session for today. It was a lovely session with a Q&A coming in. So yeah, infertility is definitely on the rise, and there are various factors like I was mentioning, be it your age, lifestyle, stress, non-communicable diseases. Age is something really you can't do about. You don't, I mean, unless you get married early enough and things like that. But if you've had a late marriage, then there's nothing you can do about your age. But some things you can really look into is lifestyle and stress. I think those are the two things. If you really, really look into, a lot of your non-communicable diseases will go away, and there's a high chance that you will conceive naturally. But in case your age is on the higher side, then I think even after 6 months of unprotected intercourse, definitely reach out to a doctor. And we at Rao Hospital are always available. You can reach out to us on Facebook or through Google search on our website, or you can always call us. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Suganya. And I guess we will be covering a full session on male infertility sometime soon. So those of you who are interested in watching that can tune in. We will give you the timing, etc., on our Instagram and Facebook page. Thank you.